In this video we are going to talk about 10 best movies ever made. What are the greatest films ever made? It's nearly impossible to rank the greatest films ever made. A list based on audience ratings comes the closest to a definitive ranking. In that regard, IMDb's list of the highest-rated films of all time may be the greatest of its kind. IMDb is still one of the most visited movie websites on the internet. Their top-rated film list includes films that have received millions of ratings. While the ranking is always changing, the top films have remained quite constant for several years. Number 10. The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings, 2001. The Fellowship of the Ring is the first book in the incredibly successful fantasy trilogy directed by Peter Jackson. Fans were transported to Middle-earth, where Frodo Baggins and a band of heroes set out to destroy the Mighty One Ring before Sauron could use it for evil. The books written by J.R.R. Tolkien were brought to life, and fans were transported there by the movies. The movie does an excellent job of introducing this stunning world and all of its inhabitants. The straightforward yet exciting quest is packed with a variety of exciting and terrifying experiences. It is not difficult to understand why fans were instantly drawn to this franchise when it was first released. Number 9. The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, 1966. The so-called spaghetti westerns revolutionized the western genre by introducing novel approaches to filmmaking that were very different from anything else that audiences had seen up to that point. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is widely considered to be the best work of its kind within that subgenre. In the midst of the American Civil War, the plot of the movie centers on three dangerous men who are on a mission to unearth a buried treasure. The film is credited with helping to establish the trend of the Mexican standoff, which is still employed in action movies today. Additionally, the film is credited with making a star out of Clint Eastwood and providing movie lovers with one of the most memorable film scores of all time. Number 8. Pulp Fiction, 1994. One of the most well-known directors working in the cinema industry today is Quentin Tarantino. His one-of-a-kind voice, vast film knowledge, and propensity for blending hysterical comedy with deadly violence served to motivate a whole new generation of movie makers. Many people consider Pulp Fiction to be his masterpiece, and it's difficult to disagree with that assessment. The movie goes back and forth between several different narratives that take place in the criminal underbelly of Los Angeles. Tarantino takes traditional tales of criminal activity and injects them with his own unique spin. The movie is full of unexpected twists and turns, and it moves at a breakneck pace. It also features speech that can be quoted forever, and it has an incredible score. Many have tried, but none have been able to match its success. Number 7. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, 2003. Peter Jackson disproved the assumptions of those who did not believe it would be possible to adapt J.R.R. Tolkien's epic The Lord of the Rings series onto the big screen. The Lord of the Rings is thought to be one of the best film trilogies of all time, and The Return of the King, the last movie in the series, was able to end it in a way that made audiences very happy. The mission to get rid of the One Ring is brought to a successful conclusion in the movie. Jackson and his team did a great job of bringing it all to a close in an emotionally gripping spectacle that boasts some absolutely amazing fight scenes. Despite criticism that the film's conclusion dragged on too long, Jackson and his team deserve credit for this. Number 6. Schindler's List, 1993. The legendary director, Steven Spielberg, is responsible for producing a few of the very best movies ever made. However, the film that is the most challenging to see by him is the one that ranks the highest, which is fitting given that it is one of his most accomplished works as a director. The film Schindler's List is based on the true story of Oskar Schindler, a German businessman who tried to save the lives of Jewish people living in Germany while it was under Nazi occupation. Although Oskar Schindler may be a role model for us all, the Schindler's List is most successful when it focuses on the horrors of the Holocaust. By having it shot entirely in eerie black and white, Spielberg was able to make a film that will remain in the minds of viewers for years to come. Number 5. 12 Angry Men, 1957. Despite the fact that 12 Angry Men was directed by Sidney Lumet and filmed on a lesser scale, the film's impact was not diminished in any way. The majority of the action takes place within a jury deliberation room, as 12 men discuss a murder trial that they have recently presided over. The film chronicles the heated argument that follows, which centers on the question of whether or not the person who is charged is innocent. Although it may seem uninteresting at first glance, the location actually contributes to the feeling of tension that pervades the entire film. The filmmaking does a fantastic job of making the space appear smaller and more constricted as the heated discussion continues. The suffocating sensation contributes to the overall atmosphere of it all. It's a shocking example of how movies made on a small budget can still pack a strong punch. Number 4. The Dark Knight, 2008. The superhero film genre may not receive a lot of appreciation from most cinephiles, but Christopher Nolan's second Batman feature shows that these kinds of movies can give intelligent, grandiose, and exhilarating entertainment. In The Dark Knight, Batman is shown making frantic efforts to prevent the Joker from destroying Gotham City while at the same time looking for someone to take over his job as the city's protector. Due to its more sinister interpretation of the Caped Crusader, the movie has the air of a crime epic. Many people remember the film for the fascinating performance given by the late Heath Ledger as the anti-hero Joker. Number 3. The Godfather, Part 2, 1974. The idea that Francis Ford Coppola would make a sequel to his critically acclaimed crime drama The Godfather, Part 2 may have seemed crazy at the time, but the success of the movie proved that it was a very smart idea. The film depicts the narrative of young Vito Corleone, portrayed by Robert De Niro, who owns the part and makes it his own despite the absence of Marlon Brando in his iconic portrayal from the previous film. In addition to those incredible sequences that take place in the past, the sequel focuses on Michael's continued plunge into the underworld as well as the complicated relationship he has with his brother Fredo. A flawless continuation that stands on its own as a work of art in its own right. Number 2. The Godfather, 1972. Even though The Godfather, Part 2 is one of the most well-known films of all time, it isn't the best of the trilogy. The original receives this award. Although there is much discussion among film enthusiasts as to which is the superior film, it is reasonable to conclude that they are both monumental triumphs in cinema. After their patriarch is nearly slain, the Corleone family, an Italian-American mafia family, struggles to preserve power. The picture is violent, humorous, passionate, and emotional, among other things. There are several memorable phrases and situations in this film. It's no surprise that so many of today's top directors consider it to be an inspirational film. Number 1. The Shawshank Redemption, 1994. It should come as no surprise that the highest-rated film of all time is also one of the most popular. It's tempting to imagine that a movie set within a maximum security prison won't have many happy moments, but The Shawshank Redemption is a surprisingly upbeat story. The film is based on a Stephen King story and follows a friendship between two inmates over several years at the titular jail. The friendship between the two men is one of the most touching things ever shown on screen, and it adds to the film's great moments, which all lead up to one of the best endings in movie history. What do you think about our video? Please let us know in the comments area below. If you enjoyed this video and would want to hear from me again, please subscribe and turn on the notification before leaving. Thank you for watching us.